book Understanding Sports Coaching, The Social, Cultural, and Pedagogical Foundations of Coaching Practice defines holistic coaching as seeing people as emotional, political, spiritual, and cultural beings. Cultural sensitivity is another important part of holistic coaching for coaches to consider because culture can be an extremely influential factor. The concept of holistic coaching is evident in the film McFarland, U.S.A. McFarland High School has a predominantly Latino student body, and white cross-country coach Jim White uses holistic coaching to connect with his team. To form these connections, Jim gained a genuine appreciation for Latino culture that becomes a foundation for his holistic coaching perspective. Formal, non-formal, and informal learning experiences all contribute to coach learning. Based on the book Attacking Rural Poverty, How Non-Formal Education Can Help, formal education is more structured learning, non-formal education is organized but less structured than formal, and informal education is learning through methods such as exposure to the environment. Informal learning has been found to have a greater impact than formal learning and non-formal learning. Communities of practice, which are groups of similar people who work together, play a role in informal learning. Typically, people practice on the edge, but they become more active in the community as they learn the norms and see themselves as belonging. As Jim becomes closer with his runners and learns the norms of McFarland while also helping his team reach unexpected success, he moves from being an outsider in McFarland to being an appreciated member of the community. This led him to truly becoming a part of the community, and in this way, McFarland is a community of practice for Jim. By becoming part of a community of practice, Jim demonstrates informal learning, as becoming part of the community involved exposure to the community. Additionally, this experience helped Jim become more culturally sensitive, as he transitioned from fearing for his family's safety when he first moved to McFarland to being an active member of the community of McFarland. In holistic coaching, coaches need to consider the personal, emotional, cultural, and social identities of athletes to help them reach their maximum performance levels. Jim used these considerations in ultimately leading his team to a state championship. He got to know his runners personally, and he considered their emotions no matter how pressing the issues seemed. Jim especially addresses the emotions of two of his runners, Danny and Thomas. When Victor implied that Danny wasn't a runner, Jim told Danny that he was the team's anchor and that he held the team together. When Thomas had family issues and Jim found him sitting on an overpass, Jim talked to Thomas about how he fell short of his own family's expectations and what would happen if Thomas jumped off the overpass. To follow these 4 factors of the runners' identities, Jim learned about his runners' culture and did not stop them from demonstrating their faith through praying after a meet. And he saw their social identities by spending time with the family of 3 of the runners who were brothers. If Jim had not taken these factors seriously, the team's success could have been inhibited. One of Jim's personal experiences with his runners that is central to the film started when the father of 3 of his runners took his sons off the cross-country team so that they would have more time to work for him. When Jim went to talk to the family of Damasio, David, and Danny Diaz, he was invited to a meal. Everyone eating dinner together showed Jim the importance of family in the boys' culture. After the meal, Senor Diaz told Jim that he would not understand his need for his sons to work in the fields. In an attempt to understand, Jim surprises Damasio, David, and Danny by going to work in the fields one day with them. He realizes that the boys' father needs them in the fields, and he comes up with a plan for them to both run and work. By coming up with this plan, Jim showed that he noticed the interactions between the boys and their father that imply they all know that the family needs them to work. And creating a running schedule to work with the boys' work schedule is an example of Jim appropriately responding to the local situation, which is an important part of holistic coaching. Holistic coaching also calls for coaches to support athletes' overall development, not only the development of their sport-specific skills. Jim addresses his runners' development beyond sport skills when he talks to them about college. The way he talks to them about college supports both the runners' academic development and their development in their family relationships. Jim supports the runners' academic development by letting them know that college is an option with their success in cross-country. He supports their development in their family relationships by telling them that they could help their families more by going to college than by working in the fields. He also tells them that Cal Poly is close enough to McFarland for them to help their parents on the weekends. Jim White's coaching approach becomes one of holistic coaching over the course of the film McFarland, U.S.A. He comes to see his athletes as emotional, political, spiritual, and cultural beings instead of as a way to gain coaching success through first gaining a genuine appreciation for the Latino culture of McFarland, California.